Okay, so today's talk is on the topic of externalities. Just to quickly outline some of the core objectives of this lecture, we're going to be defining what it means to be an external cost and external benefits, and address the efficiency implications of external costs and external benefits. In particular, how the presence of these um, uh, in the marketplace lead to deadweight loss. And then we're going to talk about some of the solutions of this so-called externality problem. And we'll address two broad types of solutions. There are market-based solutions, particularly what we refer to as the Coase theorem. And there are several government-based solutions that we'll quickly review, in particular, corrective taxes and corrective subsidies, command and control policies, and then if we've got time, I'll briefly look into cap and trade as a potential option, which is a hybrid between command and control and market-based solutions, such as the Coase theorem. In a standard market situation, it's important to remember that the height of the demand curve measures the benefit on the margin of consuming some sort of commodity, whereas the height of the supply curve measures the opportunity cost at the margin of bringing any sort of commodity to market. And for most goods, and really up to this point in our lecture, we've been thinking of the supply curve and demand curves as really capturing all of the costs and all of the benefits of a market transaction. So, think about something, some sort of very, very innocuous commodity, such as of a book. Now, when supply curves and demand curves measure the full costs and benefits of a transaction, we get the very, very traditional market outcome where supply and demand intersect at some sort of equilibrium price and quantity, and consumer surplus and producer surplus are maximized, meaning there's no real deadweight loss in the economy. And resources are allocated in a way that the highest value uses and the lowest cost uses of resources also prevail. So we get something that looks kind of like this, which is really what we've been seeing up to this point. Okay, when we're talking about all the costs or all the benefits, we're really talking about social costs and social benefits. Okay, and we can really easily break down social costs and social benefits into both a private and an external component. Now, private benefits and private costs are those benefits and costs that are realized by the private decision maker, the person who's actually making the decision to consume something or produce something. The private costs and private benefits of producing and consuming books are just those costs and benefits that are realized by the sellers and purchasers of books. But there oftentimes can be an external component, which I'll abbreviate as EC for external costs, and EB as external benefits. And these are costs and benefits that are realized in society, but not by the private decision makers. So in the book case that I just gave, there's probably not a lot of external cost or external benefit being realized. But think of a different type of transaction, maybe the producing and consumption of cigarettes. The costs to the smoker being the adverse health effects, in addition to the monetary. But there are clearly external costs, in particular those that flow to secondhand smokers. These are players in the economy that have no say a decision to smoke or to consume cigarettes, and yet they bear some of the costs. Or conversely, on the benefit side, we can think of a transaction where I decide to paint my house. And when I paint my house, the full social benefits of that transaction are not just my private benefits. Because yes, when I paint my house, I get a feeling of satisfaction. My house now looks nicer. That's why I did it. But my neighbors, who really have no say in whether or not I actually paint my house, also benefit. Okay, and those benefits that they realize are external benefits, and their benefits plus my benefits, when added together, that's the full social benefit of that decision to paint my house. The exact same way that the full social cost of smoking cigarettes should account not only for the costs of the private decision maker, but the costs that are realized by non-decision makers, in particular secondhand smokers. Okay. Now, as a group, these external costs and external benefits are referred to as externalities. Externalities that are produced on the consumption side, we oftentimes refer to as consumption externalities. So my consumption of cigarettes creates an external cost to those who are breathing in my secondhand smoke. Or we also have production externalities, where it's actually the production of something that creates the externalities. So we can think of the production of steel, if it's a very dirty, polluting process, creates external costs to those who have to breathe in that polluted air, or who have to deal with that polluted water. There, it's not so much the consumption of steel that creates externality, it's the production of steel. Oftentimes you'll hear external costs being referred to as negative externalities because they're costs, so they're negative, they kind of harm society. And oftentimes you'll hear external benefits as being referred to as positive externalities because they're good for society, so we call them positive externalities. For our purposes in this class, we'll just be referring to external costs and external benefits, not making any distinction between consumption externalities or production externalities or negative externalities or positive externalities.